Good morning. Welcome to Exit Only Theater Podcast. Good God, no, we're gonna keep going. It's not the morning, but you know what? Screw
He
it.
insists on starting these, so
yes,
these
awesome.
train wrecks are brought to you by
All right, welcome to the Exit Only Theater Podcast. We're doing things a little differently this week. We're doing 3 separate shows, but each one will be equally awesome.
I love that.
All right, but we're gonna kick off. But here I'm with JP Lee, who's wearing a T-shirt with a dinosaur with a mustache.
It's Velociraptor. Come on, man.
Oh, I get it. Velociraptor.
He never got to the text all the way at the bottom of the shirt. Yeah, I dress like a 12-year-old. What's it to you?
How's it going?
Good. Fun fact for the day: Sigourney Weaver hated Alien vs. Predator. So woohoo! I love her even more. No. Crickets?
I kind of think that goes without mentioning, no?
It's awesome that you would bring it up. Well, it was in the context of London Comic Con and all that jazz, so it was cool.
Because that's cool. Yeah.
She's awesome. Her and Jamie Lee Curtis dressing up cosplay. It's awesome.
Cosplay is cool, man. It's really cool. I can't afford to do it, but you know.
No, I can't either.
I think me going, dressing up every single day to go to work is me cosplaying as a normal person.
There you go, as an adult. I feel like food is better than spandex, for the most part, budget-wise.
Wait,
for anything. For me,
life,
yes. For me, and most of the costumes I'd have to wear as a female superhero, spandex is involved, obviously.
Well, some dudes line up just to see that.
I mean,
I'm just saying,
that's one way to spend your money.
Right. And I'm Adrian Alderette. Welcome to the show today. But today, a quick thing we're going to be doing today, we're going to be reviewing Trainwreck, Amy Schumer's new movie. And we're also going to be doing a Cinema Cinco that we'll get into later.
We said we weren't going to do that anymore.
There's a little inside joke that we got going on because every time in our show we say we're going to hit on something later.
We'll get to that.
But we never do because we get away with it. Because we know the rundown and you don't.
Exactly. So we're just teasing you for no reason.
One day we'll explain why we do that.
No, we'll pretend like we have a reason though.
Alrighty, so we're going to kick off our show by first talking about Trainwreck. We
Yes.
saw it this past week in a double feature night that involved a lot of illegal activity.
It was a hot mess is what that was.
It was a cold, hot mess.
Yes. It involved us going to multiple theaters because some theaters were sold out and then some theaters the times were wrong, aka my husband read the wrong times on his phone. Anyway, we ended up seeing both. Let's
just say we're criminals now.
Yeah, I'm not. The people I went with may or may not be.
It's a hard life.
Adrian.
It's a hard life.
Adrian. He's just saving up for his cosplay uniforms. Okay, so I'm just going to give a quick synopsis of the lovely film Trainwreck.
Steampunk Bambi. That's what's coming. Let's go. Sorry to interrupt.
Such a good SNL trailer or something with The Rock. Okay, so Trainwreck, directed by Judd Apatow, starring and written by Amy Schumer. Short, tiny synopsis so you guys know a little bit of what we're doing and what the film has to offer.
And this is a spoiler-heavy review, but yes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. I mean, this little synopsis is just a couple sentences.
Yeah.
Having thought that monogamy was never possible, a commitment-phobic career woman may have to face her fears when she meets a good guy. It's very, very succinct, but it gives us the nuggets that we need to get.
I heard those are hard to come by nowadays. All right, but yeah, basically, initially, the first thing we want to get into was, did we like the movie? Personally, I thought it was awesome. Yeah, it was terrific. This is the thing. I'm not knowledgeable of what Amy Schumer does. I know she's a hot name right now. Everybody references her saying she's a really progressive woman who's really pushing comedy for a woman's perspective, and it's really cool. I've never seen her show. I remember we were in Vermont when we did that adventure trail thing, and that's the first time I saw her at night. Yeah. But yeah, personally, I thought it was a lot of fun. It was. I know the cliche term is raunchy, but imagine what raunchy means, and that's what it was.
Yeah,
it was. It didn't pull any punches, and it kind of. Obviously, it's gonna tell the perspective of a woman. Of a woman who kind of goes out every night and sleeps with a random guy.
But it's not patronizing. It's not hey, this is a new kind of lady. No. Go watch it.
No, it's this is not one of those movies where you're oh, in a movie that in a twist that you've never seen before.
Right,
It's
no.
We've seen this kind of movie before, but this one was really, really well done.
That's the difference. Is there's some movies that clunkily, if that's a word, handle.
We're learning new words every day.
I know. I'm a work in progress. Yeah. But it's a movie that handles changing perspectives of female and male relationships and just how they work together with one another in romantic settings, in professional settings. But it doesn't do it in a way that's pandering to you at all. And I love there's just enough raunchy, but there's enough heart in it that balances it out. I think that's what makes the film work.
Did you like it though? Yeah.
I did, and for me, I have a love-hate relationship with Judd Apatow. For the most part, I appreciate everything he does as a career.
Yeah.
Sometimes his humor doesn't apply to me. Sometimes, a lot of his humor, I think, would be male-oriented. So this was kind of cool that some of the humor was sort of aimed at me.
I think all of it was.
You know what I mean? Yeah.
I think totally was. I think this was. If we were gonna sit here and say, all right, what kind of perspective did we get it from? Was it all Amy Schumer's character? I would say yes, it was, but it's not that. I'm not saying it's not clear cut. It was obviously her, but a lot of what was important about this movie, and you have to pay a lot of respect to not just Judd Apatow, but to Amy Schumer, who wrote the film.
Yeah,
and she was able to concentrate the idea of. Not just like, oh, here's one woman who's doing things her way. No, it was more about the idea and the concept of what she does. She goes out to sleep with not necessarily just to sleep with other people, because she doesn't want to connect with anybody.
No, but she is sexually liberated, and that's what you think is the case. She seems, quote-unquote, sexually liberated, that she has the freedom to sleep with whatever guy she wants, and that's supposed to be a mark of freedom and independence and all these things. And it to a certain extent it is. Like, to be caught up and be level with guys on that playing field is kind of refreshing. But at the same time, that is also part of the storyline, which is kind of refreshing, that it's not just she does this for the sake of the humor. No. She does it as a coping mechanism for something much larger, which is kind of, it's deep in a movie that you wouldn't expect depth to be in. So it's kind of cool.
And that's the clever thing is that, and we're to get into that, which leads to like the first point that I wanted for us to touch on was, based off what we saw in this movie, would you consider it a romantic comedy by like today's standards? Because like if you were to Google like what is a romantic comedy, it basically the vaguest of definitions is a movie that plays or deals with love in a light or humorous way. And that's really vague. But like from just that definition, yeah, sure, this is a romantic comedy. But I think it would be unfair just to judge it that way, because when you think romantic comedy, you're like, oh, McConaughey before True Detective, like all his movies. And you're like, well, those were really silly, and I'm like, it would be unfair to judge this kind of a movie to something like that. Like
apples and oranges.
Yeah. But I think this, and like Judd Apatow he's able to balance things really well. Yes. And I think, as much as I want to give him credit, I think Amy Schumer also deserves credit here, because it was her idea. It was her idea to put this, and obviously, I'm kind of, maybe I'll like dig into this later, because obviously the character's name is Amy, and
that's something I wanted to bring up, is that there is a lot of autobiographical stuff, kind of nuggets in this movie. Like she, obviously her name's Amy. Her profession's not the same, but she comes from a divorced family. Her father does have MS. Yeah. So there's all these all the truth behind the movie, a lot of the real family behind it is based in things that are very realistic, because those are things that have happened to her in her life. Yeah. Maybe not to the extent that happened in the movie, but there's a basis for why the comedy works.
Yeah, there was I completely agree with you there. I didn't mean to interrupt your point.
No, I was going to answer your question about Judd Apatow, but
no, I just wanted to just make one note about the point you made, because you made a really good point that, like, in the movie, like you said, like, that her father has MS, and in the beginning of the movie, literally right at the start of the movie, the dad gives a speech to both the sisters.
Yeah, Amy has a sister.
Who's played by a very attractive girl, but I forget her name. Brie Larson. Yeah, I have a huge crush on her ever since.
So talented, and I'm always like, cheese. She's a cheese. Brie.
Brie Larson. Yeah,
it doesn't help. I never remember.
She's adorable, but he gives a speech to both of them saying monogamy is unrealistic and all this stuff. But you think, oh, she's just going to be a player and whatnot. But no, there was a point to it, because eventually the reason the dad is like this, because he has a hard time connecting. He divorced his wife. Everybody that's around him, even though they kind of keep him at arm's length, because he's a cool guy to hang with, but he's not going to be your best friend. He's going to be someone that you're like, I'm glad I know, but he's not someone that I'm going to invite to, let's say my wedding or something like that. He's fun,
but he's unreliable.
Yes, which that's exactly. All of us have that friend that has been like that, but unfortunately...
That's her father.
Unfortunately and fortunately, that is her father, right. And later on in the movie, you learn, especially in the scene, because this is a spoiler, he dies.
Right.
And in the scene of the funeral, Amy Schumer kind of reveals...
the most dramatic scene in the movie.
Yeah, she reveals, he was a jerk, all this stuff. Basically, all of Amy Schumer's characteristics.
Yep.
And basically taking notes from her father. So you could see that everything that she does in the movie, where she sleeps around, all this stuff, is not just, oh, I'm this loose woman, or I'm this free-spirited woman that can do whatever I want.
Yeah.
No, it's actually, the reason she's doing it is actually really bad.
Yeah.
No,
that's a good point. I never thought about that, because when I watched it, my first reaction to that scene, of course, was very powerful, and it proves that Amy Schumer has some acting chops that I don't think anyone sees in her show as much.
Yeah.
Because the writing is what's strong about her show, but in this, she actually does have a really good depth of character. The lighting in here.
Oh, the sun.
Yeah. But she. Sorry, the lighting in this place just changed. I felt like the mood lighting was just like dimming in here, and like I don't understand what was going on.
Darth Vader just walked in.
Exactly. But also, in something that you said is a really good point, is that the scene right after that is another dramatic scene between her and her sister.
Yeah.
And she just, it seemed to me uncharacteristic that she kind of jumped down her sister's throat and was very like aggressive to her and starts like projecting her anger at her.
Yeah.
And I couldn't figure out why, and I thought it was very forced until you just now said it. She's emotional in the previous scene talking about her father. And in this scene, I think, is when she realizes everything she said is actually about her.
Yeah.
And I think is when she gets angry at her sister, who she sees has this perfect life, and she resents her for it. But that I never even thought about that until you just said that. I was like, you know what, that's really good writing. Like, that's really true to
that's
what
building
happens
character.
in real life.
It's subtly building character, and I think that's why, for me, it's like, look, it's more, it's hard. It's a romantic comedy. It is. Just to answer that really quick question, like, it's a romantic comedy, but I feel it's unfair to just categorize it like that, because this is a really well made film.
And something like, I mean, don't get me wrong, I love a movie like Pretty Woman. Sometimes I love my guilty pleasure, romantic films.
Everybody does,
right?
Yeah.
But the knock on those movies is it's always the guy that comes and like wins the girl back, or there's always a guy that's actively driving the romance. Mm-hmm. Where in this movie, she realizes she needs him, which doesn't necessarily mean that she's weaker for it. It's kind of a theme in a lot of Judd Apatow movies, is that there's always someone or something that makes the other person complete, and that's kind of part of the process. It's like getting from, if it's Knocked Up, which is a little clunkier, I would say, than maybe this movie, or maybe This Is 40. I haven't seen that all the way through to
that one's terrific.
But there's a family setting, there's a dynamic, there's a recognizing how to like compromise as a relationship.
And that's exactly right.
That's
like,
something he handles really well.
It's instead of like like you just said right now, instead of other romantic comedies where it's physically a person that they need, what each one does, and what's refreshing is what Judd Apatow, and I think what Amy Schumer also caught in her writing, was that every character not compromised, but finally comes to a realization of where they are in their life, to say, in order for me not just to be happy, but for me to progress as a person, I need to make this change.
And it's okay to need someone else to do that. If someone else compliments you in a way that helps that happen, that it doesn't prove it to be a weakness. It proves that it makes you stronger as a person.
When you go back to even, and I know this will like when you go back to like his first movie, The 40-Year-Old Virgin. Like, that movie was, like, you look at it, there's a lot of similar themes going on.
People remember the Kelly Clarkson scenes and the laugh-out-loud moments. Yeah. But there's a lot more to that movie.
The compromise that, but the realization that, like, Steve Carell's character faced in that movie was that, it's not just so much about being a virgin, it's about not being afraid and saying, okay, I'm going to go pursue love.
Yeah.
And pursue that. And that's what's very
not
similar to
closing yourself off to
exactly.
it.
And that's what Amy Schumer's character finally realizes. That, you know what, I can't just be defensive of people and just
I can't expect the other shoe to drop. I have to be open to.
I have to be willing to be vulnerable. Yeah. That's what her character was afraid of, being vulnerable. But no, speaking of just capturing things like that, of Judd Apatow, he's quietly putting together a pretty good slate of movies. Because he hasn't directed a lot, but every single movie he's made is a really good quality movie.
And we've said that before. Like, he's produced some movies that may be questionable in his mind, but in directing, he's done. I think I mentioned this earlier. He could be essentially sort of like the Rob Reiner of our generation if he continues this way in making believable true stories, not based on true stories, but like real stories that have a thread of
that just so happen to be love stories.
That may or may not be like traditional love stories, maybe a little less traditional, but the comedy isn't just there. Yeah. There's a reason for it, and he does a really good job with it.
Do you think this movie, with obviously this movie, would you be ready to kind of graduate him from just considering him as a good comedic director / producer, or do you think he's somebody that could it should be considered as a terrific drama director?
I think the term dramedy gets thrown around in the way that like.
It's a real
Diablo
thing.
Cody writes, a lot of her stuff is dramedy.
I love her stuff. Yeah, I just wanted to say that. Yeah.
It's hilarious, but there's something inherently sad about a lot of the stuff she writes.
Yeah.
I think that is the tone that he can accomplish. He just does it in a much raunchier way.
Yeah.
And we use raunchy fairly loosely, but it's in a way that is a rated R setting. It may not always be F this, F that.
It's a mature way to do it. A lot of people say raunchy, but at the end of the day, it's like in real life we talk about, in this movie, they talk about blowjobs. They talk about stuff, and you could like in the movie theater. Oh yeah, Google. I remember the damn lady. We had a lady sitting behind us who was probably drunk. Probably. And like the second John Cena's ass comes out, you're like, oh my god.
Yeah, don't get us wrong. There are moments in the movie that are just for the sake of gratuitous humor. Like they're there. We get it. But the reason why this movie might have legs and might last as a really classic Judd Apatow movie. Yeah, and it might last years down the road as a good, really solid Judd Apatow and Amy Schumer movie.
Yeah.
Is that it's the other stuff that complements the ridiculousness.
Yeah. And I think what separates. I'm not gonna say separate, but I think what really makes Judd Apatow stand out is that his comedies and his films are not necessarily centered or being driven by a character or by or a punchline of a joke or something like that. It's what he does really well is he captures a clear emotional direction, and his films have that. When like I said before, like the 40-year-old version is one of my favorite comedies ever. I love that since the first moment I saw it.
Right.
Knocked Up was not my favorite. Funny People was really, really good, and it was surprisingly packing a lot of depth. There was a lot of really adult themes going on.
That's when he tipped the tone a little bit more dramatic.
I think because Knocked Up was more about. I think personally, I think Knocked Up was just him being like, all right, let's try to be a little bit more funny. But I didn't dig it. Maybe it's because of Seth Rogen. Maybe I think that's probably what it was.
I'm not a huge Katherine Heigl fan, so I think that's what turns me off.
She had a decent performance, but I think both of them, their dynamic was really strange, and I think obviously it was intentional because they weren't supposed to be together.
That's exactly.
But I just never sat
like, do
well
I
want
to sit through that for 2 hours?
Yeah, but after Funny People, like This Is 40 was really good. Like it was
That's
so
what I've heard from
good.
everyone who's seen it. Yeah.
And because it was technically a continuation of like
pseudo sequel.
Yeah, in the Knocked Up universe, quote unquote.
Right.
But it was an interesting thing because a lot of these movies, like when you look at these comedies, these romantic comedies, none of these people technically are under 40. All these people are really they're up there in age and they deal with a lot of adult things, and I think that's refreshing because like when you watch romantic comedies, it's people who are either in their 30s or just entering their 30s, like, oh my god, who am I gonna marry?
Yeah, they only exist as physical foils. You're like, oh, they're pretty people.
Yeah, and in this movie, it's not about them getting like Amy Schumer or Bill Hader getting married or anything like that. It was just they found love and they're just gonna go with it and see what happens. Right. It's not necessarily the end all be all. It's just she knows that's what that he is what she needs because he helps bring the best of her out.
Right.
And I think that was really cool, and I think Judd Apatow does a really good job of that.
I agree.
But no, like obviously it was, aside from it being just like a really pleasant surprise of a movie, because I didn't expect it to be the kind of movie it was. I knew it was gonna be funny, but I didn't know it was gonna be like. But there were other surprises in the movie too. What was your favorite? Like, what was the most surprising? Either like cameo or scene. Like, what was your favorite thing, surprise wise, that you liked in the movie?
For cameo, obviously everyone talks about LeBron. He was good. He was solid. That goes without saying.
Space Jam. Start the campaign to Space Jam the sequel. I am from Chicago. Based off seeing this, I'm like, you know what? Let's see. You know what?
He's letting go of the Jordan death grip that is on Space Jam. Yeah. No, but I mean, he was solid in it. That goes without saying.
He was funny.
He did a good job.
He was just there to be funny, but it was they did it in a way where it's like, oh, it's not. Oh, I'm a basketball player. Right. What up, man? And I'm like, no, he was cheap. He's like, he's like, hey man, like when there was a scene where he tries to split the check with Bill Hader, and Bill Hader's like, dude, you're LeBron, you're paying for this meal. He's like, are you? All right, man. He's like, and then he looks for his wife, he's like, well, I didn't bring my wallet. He's like, are you serious? You're LeBron James. You, man. It's so funny.
And they played off of it really well. They played off of the fact that some of his delivery was a little bit stoic, a little wooden. So they even like in one of the scenes when they're in the basketball tournament thing, he says something like, I gotta ask you a question. And then he just stares at her for like 7 seconds, and it was like, he means business.
Yeah, like, Judd Apatow did a really good job of, like, you could tell they had multiple takes of that, but, it's it's good because you don't want him to be like some like acting. You want him to be it's like, hey, just be LeBron, but be funny.
Exactly, just be LeBron that memorized a few lines.
Yeah,
That's
like you know, yeah. I'm not. There's people that we work with that I try to direct that are supposed to be decent, and you're just like, look, bro, just. Obviously, I just gave away like a huge clue. No one's gonna know. It's like just like, dude, can you act, please? It's like, please just be you.
That's the thing is like, how do you tell someone to act if they can't act? That's just how it is.
True.
You know, like he obviously he's comfortable in front of cameras.
Yeah,
that's half the battle. So like he did a good job. But for me, my favorite cameo of the movie was a tie between Matthew Broderick because he was just there for like apparently no reason. The fact that in this universe Matthew Broderick and LeBron James are friends is hysterical to me. Yeah, but Marv Albert. And they were both in the same scene. Yeah, it's just like this weird little intervention scene that probably didn't have to be in the movie. That was probably the most unnecessary scene in the entire movie. But it was just this weird intervention where LeBron and his friends decide to try to tell Bill Hader, you got to try to fight for Amy. You got to try to fight for her. Don't give up on her. But for some reason, Marv Albert's sitting there, apparently a friend of LeBron, commentating the entire experience.
He's literally just commentating everything, and it was. Like, for me, I was laughing out loud. I think that and John Cena were
John Cena was fantastic.
But, man, when Marv Albert came out,
Because you didn't expect it. Like, Cena's in the commercials, but, like...
Because, like, they tried to have, like you said, like, they tried to have an intervention for Bill Hader, because at that point, him and Amy Schumer were no longer seeing each other.
It was the third act. They weren't together,
and, Yeah, and, like, Bill, they were like, this is an intervention. Yeah. We need you to get back with Amy and all this stuff. And then, like, Marv Albert shows up out of nowhere for no reason. And he just, like, starts commentating, and then, like... Bill Hader's character is like, dude,
you're not helpful.
You're not
very unhelpful.
And then like Marv Albert's like, Aaron, cutting deep with the insight. And I'm like, oh god.
He's like, Marv Albert apologizes. Like it was just so good. It was so good. And then even Amari Stoudemire was surprisingly charismatic.
The athletes, like this was, I would say, it was like I know the Farley brothers do like always have athletes in their movies and whatnot, but this was refreshing. They were themselves,
and it was organic, and it made sense.
Yeah, it wasn't like they were out of their element. Like Amari Stoudemire was on an operating table because he was trying to get back into the game.
He was getting a knee surgery.
Yeah, and which is realistic because the guy's always freaking hurt.
He's got like Patrick Ewing knees.
Yeah, he does. But yeah, like everybody was in their element. I thought John Cena was hilarious, but for me, I think the best surprise was a scene when Amy Schumer's character's dad died. Mm-hmm. They had the funeral scene. And when you're there, you're kind of like, well, what is she going to say? How's she going to do it? Is she going to be funny? She just goes out saying, look, I know a lot of you guys didn't like my dad. He was a jerk. Blah, blah, blah. And she was able to wrap it around and saying, you know what? But at the same time, that's why we loved him. And
the way they did that when she could say something that was really mean, but she pulled it off. Like I think she literally said, like, my father was a jerk or an asshole, something to that effect. Yeah. And anyone else says that, and you're like, oh, like that's not the right time or place. And she pulls it off so well. And she even said, like the duality of her saying, raise your hand if he's ever offended you. Yeah. And everyone raises their hand.
The speech itself was really well done. And like it was really well acted by her because when, like, for instance, like you just said, if you were to read those lines and you give it to, let's say, a crappy director, and Amy Schumer just writes these, and let's say someone else acts, and it's like, raise your hand if my dad ever offended you. Or
it could come
that's kind of funny,
class.
weird. It's just like that's kind of a weird thing to say. But the way she executed and the way she acted it was really well done. And I think they
held shots of her too, so it wasn't like the editing was helping her. She really was.
It was a real performance, and I think that was a tip of the hat to Judd Apatow. Yep. Tip of the hat to Amy Schumer for just going all the way with that. Obviously, you could tell this was a really personal story for her. Agreed, and she nailed it. Because it's really hard when you write your own movie, regardless if you're a performer like Amy Schumer. It's really hard to like write a story like that and also be able to bring it to life with other people trying to tell you how to do it.
To be genuine without losing sight of the bigger picture of what everyone's expecting from the movie. It's very weird. It's probably a very surreal experience.
But it was a pleasant surprise, and I look forward to her. But like, the last thing we want to touch on, which kind of transitions to what we were just talking about, is do you, like, with this movie and with her performance and with the writing and everything, do you see Amy Schumer being kind of like that next, that comedy star that eventually kind of is able to kind of like transition into maybe some dramatic roles or something like that?
I personally, I don't know if that's what she wants in her career right away. Yeah. But I feel like she very much has the capacity to do it. And I know we talked about like what if she's the next Kristen Wiig, because Kristen Wiig's done some really good dramatic, smaller.
But she's never had her own movie,
right? And to just basically like launch into her film career as the star and writer of her own movie. Mm-hmm. that's huge, and I think eventually, and we've talked about this, I think she could be to a certain extent a somewhat Steve Carell kind of character.
Yeah.
In the way that he can kind of pick and choose moments where he can be funny, he can do stupid comedies at times.
Yeah.
But he also has the range and the credibility to do more serious work.
Yeah. Like Steve Carell, like I will kind of hold to like. I would kind of compare him to like Tom Hanks, where he's able to do any. Like I think he could literally do anything.
I can see that trend. That's a very good example. Yeah.
And Amy Schumer, if she, I don't honestly like you said it too. Like I don't know if that's where she wants to go with her career. Like if she wants to maybe be able to take on that kind of challenge of maybe acting a little bit more, I think she could totally nail it because she's not necessarily like your girl next door like hot actress. Because like in the movie they play off that they're like look. Like, she's not hot.
And she wrote these lines about herself, so it's okay to laugh at it.
And the thing is, like, obviously, like, with her, like, she's so smart and all this stuff, she's gonna be offered roles.
Yeah.
So with her, it's like, it's up to her. I think she can.
Yeah.
I hope she writes another film. Obviously, with all that she got going on right now with her TV show, maybe we won't see another film for maybe a couple of years.
But that's what our appetites with this, you know.
Yeah.
And I think the fact that she might have the choice to decide if she wants to do TV, comedy, drama, that's a huge step forward for even just for female comics or comedians in general.
In my opinion, she's a much better version of Lena Dunham, the girl who was in The Girls.
I agree, but I don't have as much experience and exposure to Lena Dunham's work.
Yeah, like I tried to watch because her Girls is such a big hit on HBO.
Right.
I tried to watch it. She can't act to save her life. I think she writes great stuff.
Right.
And she probably I know she did a film called Tiny Furniture. I haven't seen it, but I heard really good things.
Mm-hmm.
But I think with her is like Judd Apatow. She's another Judd Apatow like protege, where she he helps her out, puts her in movies and whatnot. I think Amy Schumer is kind of a better version of that.
She may be the more mainstream version. That's
I would say more mainstream. She's not less indie.
Palatable.
Where she's able to kind of not just be like in these weird like kind of indie flicks.
She can appeal to a broader audience.
She can appeal to a broader audience, and I hopefully with her obviously knocking it out of the park with Bill Hader, who did an awesome job too.
Very good, understated performance.
You want to talk about the next Steve Carell? He could very well be another Steve Carell.
Yeah, you're right. Especially because I always thought he was an over the top kind of actor with his caricatures. And he did a very good job with this.
He's a really good actor. Yeah. Like on Saturday Night Live, he showcases that, like where he's able to do like that character Stefan and all like the weird.
I totally miss him. He's the person I miss most of that.
He was terrific. I'm glad he was able to join, and I wish he got more work. But you could tell like he's picking the right projects to do.
Exactly.
But yeah, overall, I would say go see Trainwreck. I thought it was awesome. I'm not gonna give it like when we do ratings. Personally, I don't like giving a number or anything like that. I'm like either it's good or it's bad. I think this is a really good movie. I'm enthusiastic about it. Please go see it.
My first impression and my impression now are the same, which is a good sign, I think, for a consistent reaction to a film. I loved it. I would probably even see it twice in theaters, and that's the kind of movie that passes my will I buy it when it comes out on Blu-ray test. Yeah. I'll probably buy this movie.
That's a great movie to see with your friends. It
was a fairly crowded audience.
People have Netflix nights nowadays. That's a thing about our culture now. Sure. We have Netflix nights. When this is eventually available, this would be a great thing to have on a Netflix night.
Absolutely.
With either your girlfriends, even with dudes.
That's the thing. It appeals to everyone.
Yeah. So the next segment that we're going to be going to is our Cinema Cinco, kind of keeping the theme of what was one of the neat things about Trainwreck. I'm excited
about this one.
Yeah, like one of the neat things about Trainwreck was there were cameos everywhere. Cameos, not only sport ones, but like you said, Matthew Broderick.
Done well.
They were well, and they were very well executed. So we were like, you know what? Let's think of some of our favorite, most random movie cameos ever. So each of us put together a list.
There's gonna be some contention here.
Yeah, we haven't. Now this is the thing. Like we haven't revealed each other's list. So let's start with our number 5. Our number 5 most random cameo. What is it, JP?
You want me to start?
I want you to start. Yeah.
I'm gonna go with it's short and sweet and it's fantastic. Johnny Depp in 21 Jump Street.
Okay, that was cool. Yeah.
Because for me, not obviously, but I was too young. I was obviously too young to watch the show. But the show came out in the 80s. I was far too young / wasn't born yet for it to have been a thing for me. But I knew that show was big, and it was because he was in it. Like, it was kind of hand in hand. Yeah. So I was like, I had no concept of the idea that they would even have him come, because it's like Johnny Depp. Like, he's probably off in France, hanging out, doing whatever he wants to do, or in Australia. Wherever he is now, he's doing his own thing.
We'll get into that, yeah.
He's doing his own thing. So, like, to have the third act of the movie, which I feel like hinged on something, and needed something more for it to be just, like, over the top, it's hysterical, and to have him make the appearance he
delivered.
Did, yeah. He was undercover still, like, he'd been doing it for 30 years. It fit into the scene of the movie. begins and ends in that sequence. Like, it's just such a dramatic, over the top, very like goofy, but like he played it straight performance, and it was maybe 90 seconds of him on screen.
Yeah.
I loved it.
It was awesome.
I loved
it was because that was his first breakout role. Everybody points to Nightmare on Elm Street, but like that was just a role for him. It was 21 Jump Street that really gave him a start. That's a good one. No, that was a good one. Mine, my number 5 is Brett Favre from Something About Mary.
So that was like on my list, and I was like, but I've only ever seen that movie like once or twice.
That movie's hilarious.
Jonathan will be happy you put that on the list.
That one is really like that one was so random because like Cameron Diaz's character is like, oh, my ex-boyfriend Brett, oh, I can't get rid of him, and we're like, oh, well,
like,
he plays sports or whatnot, and then all of a sudden he shows up, it's Brett freaking Favre.
The name and the fact that he was a jock was enough, but for it to just pay off like that, it's fantastic.
And like that was him. Obviously, he was always a great quarterback and whatever, but that was like him like 98, so that was like him like still like at the elite of his game.
Oh, absolutely.
All right. What's your number 4?
My number 4 is a personal favorite of mine, from one of my favorite movies of all time. Kate Blanchett in Hot Fuzz.
That was also... I thought about putting that one in. And this thing, like, you wouldn't even notice her.
No, that's what's fantastic to me, is that is probably my favorite comedy of all time. I don't think anything's going to knock it off.
Really? Over Shaun of the Dead?
Hot Fuzz to me is the perfectly written comedy. Like, that movie, there's not a line in that movie that doesn't mean something.
Yeah.
And throughout the entire... And then the jokes are at the beginning, and you have to wait for the punchline at the end. The movie's just perfect. It's a perfect movie.
Yeah.
And the fact that they got her and Peter Jackson to be in a cameo on that, which if you blink, you miss his cameo. So that's why I didn't include it, because I'm like, some people might think I'm lying, but he's Santa, the guy who stabs Simon Pegg's character.
Yeah.
But having her in that role, she's gorgeous, and all you see are her eyes through this mask, because she's in the middle of like a crime scene.
That was a really well put together scene.
Her dialogue, like it's just so, I just love it. The fact that Simon Pegg may or may not have dated Kate Blanchett is also like just a hysterical, like, the dynamic between the two of them is fantastic.
That's awesome. And I just want to say, like, Hot Fuzz is awesome because Timothy Dalton. I love that dude. But no, that's all I'll say about that. That dude is like, that's a one swap fucker, man.
I will completely...
Pardon my language, but I don't care.
That was warranted, though.
Alright, the next cameo for me, my number 4, was in the movie The Rundown, The Rock's movie The Rundown.
Okay.
Arnold Schwarzenegger's in the beginning of that movie. For no reason at all. But, like, you see The Rock entering the club at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden he, like... Arnold Schwarzenegger walks, like, bumps into his shoulder, and he's like, good luck. And, like, The Rock looks at him, and it's basically just, like, a passing of the torch at that time. It was just like, you're the next big action star.
That's cool.
And the funny thing is, like, after that movie, The Rock didn't do any other action movies. And it was just like, wait, you handed it off to a dude that doesn't want it to be handed off to?
What the heck, man?
Now he's back, and now I wish...
he just needed to, like, ascend to the throne.
Arnold needs to make another cameo and bump his other shoulder, like, no, just please don't leave. Stay back. Don't ever leave.
It's so true. That's really good. You blink, you miss that.
No, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Matt Damon in Eurotrip.
Oh, nice.
Okay,
very nice.
Because I don't remember anything else about this movie. Because I only ever watched it on band trips on the bus, like when no one was ever paying attention to the movie. Yeah, because I was a band geek. Haha, jokes inserted. But
this one time at band camp. All right, I have to do it. Yeah.
But just that sequence to me, I was like, what the hell is going on right now? I'm like, that can't be.
No. That was him.
That's Matt Damon.
Dude.
And he's just...
What's the name of the song that
Scotty
he sings?
doesn't know.
Scotty doesn't know. Scotty doesn't know.
And then just like, as the song's so freaking repetitive, and as it just keeps going, you're just like, alright, I guess we're going on this ride.
That was terrific.
It just sets the tone for the rest of the ridiculousness that is that movie.
My number 3 also includes Matt Damon.
Ah!
Jay and Silent Bob.
Okay,
Matt Damon and Ben Affleck.
Nice.
Because this is hot... No, it wasn't hot off the heels of Good Will Hunting. But the thing was Kevin Smith is like great friends with Ben Affleck. And they all came together during those Miramax days because that's where like that studio was pumping out a lot of indie stuff.
Really good stuff, yeah.
And when Jay and Silent Bob came out, and they were kind of poking fun because Ben Affleck plays another character in the movie. Mm-hmm. Where he's like, oh man, screw Ben Affleck and all that stuff. He's a washout. He's just like he does whatever the money's at. And then all of a sudden, like Jay and Silent Bob are like extras on a movie. They're like, oh man, we're like we don't know what the hell we're doing here. And all of a sudden they're like, what's this movie for? It's like, oh, it's it's the sequel to Good Will Hunting. And like Matt Damon and Ben Affleck come out and they get some shotguns and they shoot somebody. They're like, how about them apples? And I'm just like, oh dude, that's so cool.
It's like, dude, what would you do with Good Will Hunting? You'd make it like an 80s action sequel. That's
exactly what it needed. But what's your number 2?
Okay, so this is where the contention rises. So we were trying to figure out exactly what cameo meant, And my definition, as is the definition that is provided by Webster Dictionary, so sources.
You should look up the Oxford English Dictionary because that's the legit one. But no, go on.
He's insufferable. Hold on. I might not have the actual definition up, but it literally says a bit part. Doesn't say it has to be one scene. Doesn't have to say that there's a limit to how many lines the person has. But it's a small part that a recognizable or famous person plays in a movie.
Okay.
I took that as Tom Cruise's character in Tropic Thunder,
which isn't
counts.
a cameo.
It counts.
It doesn't count.
It counts.
No, because he plays a major role in there.
Every list you see on these movies, every list you see online has him on the list.
If that's the case, then Kevin Spacey's character in Seven is technically a cameo.
I feel like cameos are almost synonymous with at least some tinge of comedy.
No, that's
Tell me any other examples of like a legit, like there's no argument that's a cameo that's not a comedy.
Alec Baldwin, Glengarry Glen Ross.
Yeah, but he was hysterical in that scene.
Yeah, but that's the thing. He was a cameo, though.
But he was funny, is what I'm trying to say.
No,
like
okay.
you can't have a cameo and not have even a hint of humor. It doesn't have to be a cameo.
Charleston Heston, True Lies was not meant to be funny. He was
the whole movie's hilarious.
Yeah, but like that scene wasn't funny.
That whole movie's hysterical.
No, but no,
what?
It's not. No, how you can say it's hysterical?
You can't
it's
say
awesome.
True Lies is like this intense. Like within 5 minutes of the movie, when he goes and sneaks into that mansion or whatever, like. That it's just absurd. The whole movie is absurd.
I'll allow it because it would take too long to discuss the merit of his cameo.
Okay, my argument was that I went to the movies with 5 other friends to see that movie in theaters, and 3 of them didn't even know it was him.
They're blind.
So, I know.
They're very blind.
The news had cracked a while ago that he was in it, so I have no idea if they just like didn't find him in the movie. They're like, oh, Tom Cruise, I guess wasn't in it.
They thought it was Nick Nolte. That's what they thought it was.
He was almost unrecognizable.
But
too.
my number 2.
Yes.
Is from Wayne's World. It's when whatchamacallit, when the T-1000 from Terminator 2 comes out.
I thought you were gonna say Alice in Chains.
No, Alice Cooper.
Alice Cooper, Alice in Chains.
How dare
Alice
you?
Cooper.
I'm a huge 90s rock fan. How dare you?
Of course you're a huge 90s rock fan.
Dude.
Of course you are. Well, I thought you were gonna do Alice Cooper, actually. I was expecting it.
Alice Cooper, no. It's the T-1000 guy from Terminator 2. The guy who's the liquid metal Terminator shows up and he plays a cop because he pulls over Garth on the car. All of a sudden he's all like, oh god, someone's pulling over. And you can't see his face. All of a sudden he bends down and he's like, hello, have you seen this boy? And he's like, and he's just like, dude.
I think even as a kid, I was like,
and he started running toward him, and it was just Terminator style. I was like, that is so freaking awesome.
That's something Mike Myers can get.
Like those movies. And I'm not done talking about Wayne's World. What's your number 1?
Oh, okay. My number 1 may or may not also fit in the Tom Cruise category. It's Bill Murray in Zombieland.
Okay, that was cool.
No, it's not just cool.
That was cool.
I love zombies. And, of course, the whole movie is about zombies. There's a character named Tallahassee. I went to school in Tallahassee. I saw the movie in Tallahassee.
Oh, God.
No. That's just me personally saying I like the movie. I'm not even a huge Jesse Eisenberg fan, and I still really like this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But that entire sequence at the mansion, usually I hate those asides on like journey movies where they just like randomly just pit stop at spots.
Mm-hmm.
I felt that spot was perfectly random, and the way that he...
they were trying to go there because like
they were trying to go to Hollywood. And they like got to a mansion. They're like, we're gonna go to Bill Murray's house, and then like they got there. But like just the fact that he was there pretending to be a zombie, spoiler alert, gets killed being a zombie it's just hysterical. It's this kind of thing Bill Murray probably suggested. Like, yeah, I'll be in it. Can I also do this, and this? Like, it's perfectly random. It's perfectly cool. Bill Murray. It's perfectly Bill Murray. Like I loved it.
It was fun. No, I'm not gonna lie, that was fun. But my number 1, and it's the best cameo ever because the scene, it was so awesome. It was so awesome. It was in Wayne's World 2.
Okay.
When Wayne goes to a gas station.
Okay.
And like he's talking to this old guy, and like because like Wayne is like debating whether he should go back for Cassandra, and like he's just like, man, I had this girl, whatever, trying to, I don't know if I should go back for her. Then this old guy's telling us the press story. He's like, I remember a girl and all this stuff. And then all of a sudden, like Wayne looks at the camera, breaks fourth wall. He's like, what if we actually got a legit actor for this role? So they literally mid scene they swapped the old guy for Charleston Heston, and he goes and he's like, I remember Dolly on Dolly Street. And I'm just like, and then like you see Wayne, he's just like, he's like all invested in the scene now, and he's just like, oh god,
this is so much more
and it was
intimidating.
so well done. It was so awesome. Charlton Heston had a bunch of cameos in the early '90s, and that one was his best one. It's the best one in movie history, in my opinion.
That is pretty.
Go watch
solid.
Wayne's World because it's so awesome.
That
it's
is
such
pretty
a great
solid.
collection of movies.
I hadn't watched the second one in such a long time that I actually
awesome,
forgot
man.
everything about that movie.
That's so much fun.
That's really solid.
But no, that wraps up our show for our first show of the week for Exit Only Theater. So
Yes, sir.
yeah, so thank you guys for joining us. Please tune in for our next show, which it should be coming out the next day or so.
Yeah.
Just keep your eyes on for it. It'll be our Ant-Man review, actually.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so come check that out. My hate will be unleashed. But no, but
Oh my
we'll
God.
talk about it then.
There's gonna be
But
so
I'm
much
signing off.
arguing.
I'm Adrian Alderette.
I'm JP Lee, and we'll see you when the credits roll.